Hello, and welcome to MAT095 at North Country Community College. So hopefully you are in the right spot and you're ready to start learning about some pre-algebra stuff. So first thing we're going to do is just switch over to our notes. So hopefully you've got all the lecture notes and are ready to just start absorbing some material that you probably know. So hopefully it's not going to be too dry for you, but it will get more interesting as we go. So if a lot of this is review and you're kind of like scratching your head saying, really, then that's actually a good thing because it will get more challenging as we go. So the first section of the course is looking at place value. And so we have some basic concepts that we already know about. So any written number must be made up of a combination of the 10 digits, so 0 through 9. And for example, the whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So anytime you see these three dots, just know that means and so on. Okay, so now we have a group of numbers that we're working with. But now the trouble with numbers is that when they get really large, it's kind of hard to differentiate them, and sometimes it's hard to even pronounce them because they get so big. So the one thing that we got to have is a place value chart. So the place values are how we can differentiate each digit of a specific number. So again, hopefully you remember this a little bit, but if not, we're going to just do a quick little chart here. So we'll just draw a line. And now we're going to be looking at numbers only to the left of the decimal point. So I'm just going to put a decimal point right there. And then I'm just going to put a bunch of lines like this. And we're going to fill in all these names, or at least a few of them. So now the first spot to the left of the decimal point, you remember what that one is? Well, it is going to be called the ones. So if you got that right, then that's a good thing. So now from there, we can just keep going. So after that, hopefully you remember we have the tens. And then after that should be, you got it, the hundreds. And then it just keeps on trucking. So we got the thousands. And so after that, you're going to see a little bit of a repetition in some of the place value names. So hopefully you remember that the next one is going to be the 10,000s. So 10,000s. And then after that, it's going to be the 100,000s. And then what about the next one? Well, hopefully you remember that one is going to be the millions. And then 10 millions. And then 100 millions. And it keeps going on forever and ever. So we can get really huge numbers that have lots and lots of place values. So now we can look at some examples. So let me just clear some space here for me so I can move this up. So now we got some examples. So I just want you to identify the digit in the following place value. So we got 5031. So they want the tens, the digit in the 10 spot. So we can see that should be the second one. So that better be the 3. And then the thousands. So again, tens are ones, tens, hundreds, and then thousands. So that's going to be the fourth one. So that's going to be a 5. Now, again, when the numbers are small, it's not too terrible to do. But when the numbers get large, then it gets a little trickier. So we can see that these commas are in there, and that's actually going to help us out. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more after we go through these examples. So the 100 spot, well, always go from left to right when you're looking at numbers to the left of the decimal point, or excuse me, right to left. So 1, 2, 3, so that's going to be the 4, and then the 10,000s, that better be the 1. 100,000s, so 100,000, so ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000s. It doesn't hurt to whisper like that either. So 10 millions, it looks like it's going to be the 2. So now, how can we start to do this a little faster? Then that's where those commas come in, because the commas separate the whole number into groups of 3 digits. So each group of 3 digits is going to be a period. So if we kind of go back to our place value chart for a second, and we kind of segment this off into groups of 3. The first period is going to be called, well, the ones period. So the ones period is first. The next period after that is going to be the thousands period. And then the next one is going to be the millions. So you're kind of seeing a common thread in each of those periods. So you got the ones, there's no prefix to any of those. But for these, they all have that, or excuse me, not prefix, but suffix, is the thousands and then the millions. So do you know what the next one after that is, after the millions? You probably know it. It's the billions. So we could have the billions period, and after billions, that one's going to be the trillions. And what about after trillions? Most people don't know that one. That one's a tough one. But that one's quadrillions. It almost seems like a made-up word, doesn't it? So, okay, so we have a sense of how we can organize a whole number by looking at the different periods and then all those sub-pieces of those periods. All right, so let's go on to the next page. We've got a few more things to look at, and then we'll close this video. So the next part is looking at writing numbers in words and in digits. So here's where, again, it's a tricky thing if you don't have the right idea of how the number's laid out. So again, the periods are going to help us do this. So some of the smaller numbers, we can do those pretty easy. So 245, well, that's 200. 45. 245. So you're kind of using those place values to help you phrase the number. Now, we got a little bit bigger one, and it's got a comma there. So remember, the first period is our ones period. So that's really kind of just generic. It doesn't, you don't have to say anything special for that. But for the next period after that, we know that's the thousands period. So if we keep that in mind, we first just phrase this first number, which we know is 46. But because of this first comma, we can input that period name in there as well. So that's going to be 1,000. 46,000 because of that first comma. And now we can say this the last part. So 307, so 307. And that's it. So again, use those commas and as the name of the period that it's identifying with. All right, so let's try a little bit bigger one. Okay, so we got our ones, our thousands, our millions, and then our billions. So we know that 56 is going to be billions. So we got 56 billion. And if you want to put a comma just to kind of keep it separate, that's fine. Now there's no numbers in these place values here, so all we care about is the 6. So 6 million. And then we got a bunch of 8, so 888, and then the comma, which is the thousands. So 800. Now I put hyphens in a lot, but you don't need to worry about the hyphens, so I'm going to take that one out. 888,000. Oops, if I could spell. And then the last part, which is 321, so 321. All right, so hopefully that's kind of ringing true with you and it makes sense to you. But if not, try a few problems, ask questions. That's what I'm here for. Now let's just go the other direction and then we'll call it good for this first section. So now the next part is just to go in reverse. We want to write all of these numbers in digit form. So we got 271,900,023. Now if you wanted to work backwards and go from right to left you can do that. So we know 23 is, okay, well, that's 23. But now there's no hundreds being described in here. So we got to keep track of that place value. So we're going to put a 0 in for that. So that's the last part of our number, 23. So now we got 900,000. So is there anything we got to be careful about with this one? Well, 1,000 is right next to our ones period, so we should be good to write down this next number. So 900,000. So there's no nothing else fancy with it, so we can just write 900. All right, and then we'll put another comma. All right, so we got 271 million. So is that the next period that we got to worry about? If the answer is yes, then we can just write it down. So 271. So now this hopefully is what we want it to be. So 271,900,023. Now the one thing I didn't mention in here so far is the word and. You don't see the word and anywhere in these problems, and that's purposeful. And should not be used when you're talking about whole numbers. We're going to use and later on, but not right now. So don't use the word and. All right, let's try this last one. So 489. All right, well, let's just take a shot at it and see what we think. All right, so 600 trillion. So there's nothing fancy, so I'm going to do that. Okay, 56 million. Okay, so 56, there's no 100, so I'm going to go 056. And then 489. So, okay, so I'll go 489. So does that seem right to you? Well, that means it's not right. So what's wrong with this? Well, remember, we got to make sure all the periods are accounted for. So what periods are they not mentioning in here? There's two of them. They're not mentioning the thousands in here at all, and they're not mentioning the billions in here at all. So we got to account for all those place values, even though they're not mentioned. So this is not right, and we got to put in a bunch of zeros for all those missing place values. So there's the billions, there's the millions, there's the thousands, and then there is the ones. So now we're good to go. All right, so that wraps up this first section. So we're going to stop the video there, and we'll pick it up in the next one. See you soon.